All right, welcome back to Hustle to Harmony. Today, our guest is James Allen. He is on a mission of teaching coaches and experts how to grow and scale their online businesses. So James helps his students turn their knowledge and their expertise into a lean, profitable, and scalable passive income style business, guys, through online courses, memberships, and coaching, all while working under 20 hours a week. So you can see why he's here. Hello, and thank you for joining us.
Yeah, super pumped to be hanging out and to, share my story and the tidbits and the things that have helped me along the way. And kind of how I got into making passive income. Like I still do coaching, obviously I love it. But yeah, it's just having different aspects of my business to really free up time. So I'm really excited about this conversation.
Yeah. And we spoke yesterday and you let me know that you also geek out on productivity. So this is like super cool.
Yeah, I was a productivity coach for a number of years and we had you on my show. So yeah, super fun stuff. I feel like you and I could have talked for hours. I was like, okay, we need to land the plane. So yeah.
I know. It would have wound up being like a Joe Rogan show where it's just like 3 hours long. People
Literally.
are like, what's happening here? All right. So tell me a little bit about clearly productivity coaching, being really great with processes and systems. I'm super big on getting my clients to like clear out and get back 10 hours a week while still making money, if not making more money, right? And you have a different approach. Like I don't teach them anything new. We work on the current system that they have. You have a different approach to that where you actually teach them to bring on a new system, a new process, a new thing to sell, right? So talk to me about how you went from productivity coaching to like, this is what we're doing now.
Yeah, my whole journey, like really quick cliff notes. I was in construction work for a number of years, like 4 or 5 years. And that's what my dad did. And that's just, I didn't know what to do after high school. So I was making really good money at like 22. I was making 6 figures, but I was working like crazy and I wasn't happy with my work. So I loved personal development. It changed my life in many, many ways. And I found out that you could be a coach and you could coach people and get paid for that and make like 6 figures or way more than that and have freedom. I was like, oh my gosh, laptop lifestyle. It sounds amazing. So I started as a spiritual life coach and I realized like, whoa, this is way harder than I thought it was going to be, especially like hitting 6 figures. I thought I was going to be a success, like hit 6 figures to me was massive success right out of the gate, like in the first year. And I was like, whoa, wake up call. It's not as easy as the gurus made it seem. So I did spiritual coaching for a while, spiritual life coaching, and it was just hard to like be a specialist in any one thing. So that's kind of what geared me towards niching into the productivity space because I loved productivity. And I was just obsessed always with like, how do I make money and, do something I enjoy, which is coaching people and teaching stuff. How can I get paid for that, but have it not like take over my life? Because I was working so much in construction. It sucked. And I don't want to be grinding all the time. So I was obsessed with productivity because I hadn't really built like a big business or anything, but I was very efficient with my time and just the way I thought about things, like people saw value in that. So it just made sense. In my efforts of productivity, I found out about digital products and passive income and how you can automate things and make money while you sleep. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is it. This is what I want. So I built, I think 5 or 6 online courses and funnels and landing pages and sales pages and all the stuff. Russell Brunson, Brendan Burchard, all that stuff. And I didn't make any money. $0 launches back to back. And I was just like, this sucks, but I know it's possible. So I'm going to keep doing it. And people are like, why did you just keep doing it? I'm like, because I knew it was possible and I knew that I could make it work. And like, if these other people could do it, why couldn't I? So I had some really good mentors. They taught me, a lot of stuff that I teach now. One of the biggest things was like actually listening to your target audience and doing the research, talking to them and whatnot, building the right kind of product that is going to virtually be guaranteed to sell. Anyway, I did all that stuff and I had my next launch, just like I'm going to wing it with this productivity course. And I woke up to my first $200 without ever meeting the person, just like through YouTube content and emails. I was like, this is incredible. And then another sale happened and another one. And next thing I knew, I was able to pay my rent every month, which was covering like a major expense for me. It was massive. And then over time, it has grown into like a 6-figure business, and I work roughly 20 hours a week in this. So I have plenty of time to like do other things, and I love the work that I do. And it's really cool that it's just like been able to work that way. But yeah, when getting into like Profit Your Knowledge and what I'm doing now is that I had a lot of clients who were sales professionals, a lot of like coaches and self-sustaining entrepreneurs, solopreneurs and that kind of stuff. And I was just helping them clean up their tech and stuff. But then I always ask them like, what's a win since the last time we spoke? And they wanted to know my win. So I was like, well, I built this course and it's been selling for me like literally in my sleep. And I'm really proud of that because it's taken me a lot of work. And they were like, whoa, that's really cool. Do you think you could help me do that? And I was like, I can try. So anyway, I tried to do it. I worked with this one client. She was a fitness coach, and she had zero tech skills, zero confidence on camera, like zero audience, absolutely zero. So it was like perfect guinea pig. See if I can make this work for somebody else. And it did. She made a YouTube channel. Her YouTube channel surpassed mine like really fast, which I thought was incredible. She's also just in a totally different niche, has a lot more volume. But yeah, we did that. And then in her first like week after launching her program, she made like $1,500, which for someone who's never done anything, it was a really big thing. It was just like, it was passive. And that kickstarted, her whole journey with doing that kind of stuff. And since then, I just helped more people, and then it turned into Profit Your Knowledge and what I'm doing now. So
that's awesome. That's really cool. How would you say your transition from not being able to make any sales to figuring out and making a sale, was it that I listened to my audience thing, or was there something else in there that kind of helped you make that happen?
Yeah, there's a lot. Copywriting is a really big skill that any online entrepreneur should learn. I think any business owner should learn, really. But especially if you're selling like courses and coaching and that kind of stuff, you're selling you and your knowledge. You got to learn copywriting and at least have a general understanding. A lot of people just suck at it, or nowadays we just use ChatGPT, and I can spot from a mile away if something's written with ChatGPT, and I use it too, but I use it to enhance my writing, not to do my writing, and that's a big distinction. But the way that you write really good copy isn't by being the best academic writer or anything like that. The way you create amazing products isn't by just like having this amazing insight of like, this is the perfect product. No, like all of it comes down to understanding your target audience and the person you're serving. Because at the end of the day, like any business, that's what it is. I don't care if you sell like toilet paper or like plumbing or plungers, like whatever it is, like you have to understand the struggles that people have. And that's like building a course is really easy, or any sort of digital asset, like an ebook, a template of any kind, like all that stuff is easy to build. It's really simple. Marketing it and selling it and having somebody actually give you money for that thing, that's the hard part. And the way we do that is by really understanding, what is this person struggling with? What do they want to achieve? What are the barriers that come up? Like what's going on inside their mind? So I am always on a mission of how can I more deeply understand my audience? Because when you get that, building the right products, writing the best copy, everything else gets so much easier. So I would say it is that paramount.
Yeah, absolutely. I was a copywriter beforehand, and like before ChatGPT was really a thing, like Jasper just
so you
kind
actually
of
had to
came
write.
out. Yeah. We actually did research and wrote. And sometimes when I'm talking to people, I'm like, well, what does your ideal client say? Well, ChatGPT told me this. I was like, why can't you have an actual conversation with a human? Or go look in the discussion boards and find what people are saying. Or go read Amazon reviews and see what people are saying. Like find their words, not ChatGPT's words, because he's telling you the same thing he's telling 100 other people. Like you got to really like dig in and have a conversation with a human to find out what it is that they're really saying in that moment. Like for so long, I always thought people were talking about like chaos and all this other stuff in the productivity world and burnout and all these other things, because I was sick and tired of hearing the word overwhelm. But when I get out and I talk to people at networking meetings, all these women are like, I'm so overwhelmed. And I'm like, son of a bitch, that's the word. That's the one I have to use, right? But you don't know that if you don't talk to real people, right? Because ChatGPT only tells you what it thinks you want to hear, or what you've prompted it to hear. Or what other people have prompted it to hear. So that's super important to make sure you're like actually talking to people and getting their words in.
Yeah. And like, I mean, I use ChatGPT for a lot of that stuff, but I feed it the right information. Like I don't just say, write me an email. I make a voice note and then I give it that. And I say, I want you to write me an email based on this content. And I've taught it how like the format and how I like my emails to be written and that kind of stuff. But it uses like my actual ideas. And I think that's like the big disconnect. And I see this with my clients all the time. because I'm like, hey, I want you to go write these emails, and I help them lay it all out and everything, or create a lead magnet, and it's just right away. I'm like, okay, so you wrote it in chat.
Yeah.
And there's a reason that it's not as good as it could be. And it's not, I'm not hard on them or anything in that. It's just like, can you see how this doesn't sound like you? And that's what people are following you for, because if they watch your YouTube videos or your content or whatever it is, like they connect with you against anybody else who's teaching the same exact thing, because there's millions of people doing it. But why you? Because it's you, it's your stories, it's your insights, it's the way you think about productivity or relationships or whatever it is. And that's what really pulls people in to learn from you. So chat's great for making things faster. It's great for creating first drafts, but it should really come from a foundation of your thoughts, your ideas, your insights, I believe.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, so we're all about like not working a lot. We're all about not hustling and saving time and making money and all that kind of stuff. If there is something that you can impart, whether it's a method or a framework or like how you can get more done in less time, you can include, like if it's a digital product, whatever it is, like how can they start adding on something new when they're already stuck in the weeds, feeling like I need something, but I can't get my head straight?
So that's a big question, because it's so subjective to each individual person. So the thing that comes to my mind that I would do that I think is going to fit for anybody is a really simple process of eliminate, automate, and delegate.
Yes.
Because, and in that order too, you are probably overwhelmed because you're taking on too many things and saying yes to too much, but those things aren't necessarily getting you the result that you want. We talked about this on my podcast because we were talking about like focus, how to maintain and build focus and that kind of stuff. And that, as I was a productivity coach doing research, that was the big thing, was focus. Yeah. But we talked about a lot about like distractions and how you were awesome because you were talking about like being a parent with multiple kids. Like I'm not a parent with multiple kids. I have fur babies, a cat and a dog, and they can be annoying. So, and like want my attention, but like kids are like mommy, daddy, and they want to come in, and you have to have those boundaries with them, but also be able to focus on the most important thing. So a lot of people are just like doing a lot of stuff. And this is what I see when people work with me. It's like, they're just kind of scattered and they're like, I'm so busy, I'm so overwhelmed, but it's like, you're doing things that aren't really putting money in your pocket. Like you're not focusing on the right thing, or at least on the right thing for right now in this season that you're in. So you have to get really, really clear as to what that thing is. Before you go into eliminate, automate, delegate, I'm a huge fan of asking, and I love simplicity. So we talked about this on my show too, but I love the question from Gary Keller's The One Thing, which is, what's the one thing I can do that by focusing on that would make everything else easier or totally unnecessary? Yeah. So a really simple example in my own life is like video editing. I like it, but it takes up a lot of time. And it's like, I don't like it that much. And there's other people who can do it better than me. And there was also other things that were just like taking up a lot of my time that didn't require me, like my voice, my face, like being here on a podcast. This requires me. My VA is not going to do that for me. So I went out and did the focusing question and realized, oh man, you know what? If I could hire a VA that could primarily like be good at video editing, but also take up some of these other things that are really important, like turning the YouTube video into a high converting blog post with SEO tools and that kind of stuff, which we're doing now, and it's awesome, that would be massive. So yes, it takes energy to get that done, but by getting that one thing done, it makes everything else easier or totally unnecessary. And now I can enjoy the rest of my day or my weekends knowing that my VA is working on my behalf. So we're like double time on the business now, So that's the idea you want to think of. It's like, what's this one thing right now that you can focus on with your business, but you can do this with your health or your relationships too, that by doing that, it'd be like knocking over a big domino that knocks over a bunch of tiny dominoes.
Yeah.
And that's really the key. So when you figure out that one thing, and I would encourage you not just be like, first thing that comes to mind, like really marinate and chew on the question, go for a walk, take some time. Even if you think you have it, like back up and then come back to it. And like really dial in, like this I feel intuitively is like 100% the best thing I can focus on, if it's building a course or whatever. Then you can go into eliminate, automate, delegate. So you want to start with eliminate, because now you have this goal in mind of this is the one thing. If I did this one thing, everything else would get so much easier or it'd be totally unnecessary. I'm going to knock over the big domino. You know what the task is. So then you want to get to the drawing board, pen and paper, Google Doc, whiteboard, whatever, and just jot down the things that you do in your week. And like get as granular as you can. You kind of talked about this of like every hour, what did you do, in that hour, or what were the things you were focusing on? Like you can, like whatever makes sense to you. I don't really care. Just like jot down what you've been doing and really ask yourself, like, is this thing supporting that goal? Like the one thing. And if the answer is no, then you shouldn't do it. That's where you want to eliminate and like be ruthless with your elimination. So from there, then you can start to move into like automation. You'd be surprised at how much you can get away with by yourself with automation before you even need to hire like a VA or anything like that. Some things like video editing, I mean, they have AI tools, but they're not that great. Yeah. You might be able to automate video editing, but primarily that's more of a task for delegation. So really it's just like eliminate ruthlessly and then think, how can I automate these things so that they can run in the background, like these repetitive tasks that don't require my voice or my face. And then after you've exhausted as much as you can with automation, and you're like, these are some leftover tasks that still are relevant to the goal, but I can't really automate them. Then you can delegate them, assuming they don't require your voice or your face. And that's kind of how I think about like umbrella answer to that question that anybody can kind of follow.
I love that, because if anybody has listened to any one of these episodes that I've put out, you have just hit a topic on every episode that I've talked about before. And I like that you are somebody else. Number one, you're not me spouting the same thing. You're a successful business owner and you're laying it out plain and simple. Like this, it's not some magic key. Like this is, you have to do these particular things. I don't do eliminate first, but I like that. I like eliminate first. I usually do that after everything. And if people have trouble with automation,
how come you do it after? I'm just curious.
I like to see what I can do, what I can have someone else do, and like anything left over, I just get rid of. Right? Yeah. If I can't do it, if someone else can't do it, then I just get rid of it. It goes into like a little bin somewhere else where I don't have to think about it anymore because it's not something that I can do or someone else can do. So why is it here? I don't know. I just like to tackle what I can take care of first and put that down. Yeah. Kind of helps me weed it out. I guess my brain thinks opposite.
Yeah, at the end of the day, though, it doesn't really matter. I think it's good to hear your point of view. And like, if that's what you coach your clients on and they get great results, like goes to show that it doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, the most important thing is like, are you focusing on that key thing?
Right.
And there's like, that's just the way that I think about it. But like, you have your own way. As long as you're really pinpointing it, this is actually the one most important task that I need to focus on or get good at right now, or thing, whatever it is, that's going to just make everything easier or totally unnecessary. It forces you to think more strategically about what you're doing. And a lot of people, they can start automating or delegating or eliminating things, and they're not tied to that one major thing. But like, yeah, it's like, get really focused. Like that's what we talked about, was like, that's what focus is. It's knowing what's the one thing that's going to really be the needle mover, the game changer for me. And then getting rid of every other possible distraction from that one thing. Like the Hormozis talk about that. Every successful business owner talks about that. If you are like, writing a book would be the number one thing, nothing else aside from like client calls or whatever, fulfilling stuff that you promised. Nothing else should really get in the way of you writing and creating your book then.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I think the other thing that you said was more or less about repurposing, right? So you have the podcast episode and that turns into a blog post. If you don't have a podcast, you can do that with your social media posts or with a live video that you did or anything. Like just use that one thing and see how many different places you can put it. Can you break it up into reels? Descript is great for that. Can you turn it into like 3 more posts? Can you what can you do with the one thing that you're doing to get the most out of it? So that way you're not spending so much time just creating content all day long. I tell people all the time, like I'm on 1, 2, 3, 4 social media platforms, and I have a Facebook group and I have a podcast. I'm like, oh my God, how do you do it? And I'm like, I talk about the same thing every week. like I talk about one thing and then it goes to all the different places, like for 1 week. And then I have a different topic the next week. And it's really just as easy to do it for all of that as it was to just do it on one. It's the engagement and stuff that gets a little hairy, but in terms of just posting in different places and creating content, it's the repurposing is super key to, making sure that you're not spreading yourself so thin. So let's go back to your business. How do you help somebody if they're like, I want to create something, but I don't know? What do I do? Like, I know I need something because I don't want to take on more clients, but I want to either have an added resource for them or a bonus, or I just want to put something out in the ethers and hope that people buy it while I'm sleeping. How do you help them figure out what they should be putting up?
Yeah. So this is where a digital product will come into play. I'm a fan of I think you can get really far with just private coaching, first off. But there comes a point where it's like, I'm saying the biggest thing is I'm saying the same thing over and over and over again on these calls. I think another surefire way that you're ready to create a digital product is you have a good baseline of clients, but you find yourself teaching a lot in your calls and not as much execution. I think that's a really good indicator that you should probably have some additional resource like an online course, because there's a lot of ways you can leverage it people don't even think about. Also, yeah, you'd love to have something else to offer. You're tired of turning people away that can't afford your private coaching because it's probably a more expensive item than just $100 or something like that. And you want to add more value to people, but also be able to make sales in your sleep. Those are all great indicators that you're ready to create a program. Yeah. I recommend for most people to start with an online course, just because a lot of people love the idea of recurring revenue, which you can create with an online course, by the way. It's not always as predictable as a subscription-based model, because even that's not necessarily predictable, because you have to have a community and an offer that makes people want to keep investing in it per month. Like Canva, we probably use it all the time, so we keep paying for it. But if they're not getting value from it, then they're not going to keep paying. You can get recurring revenue with online courses, and it'll be kind of inconsistent where it can be higher or lower or whatever. I always recommend starting with a mini course for most people, just because a lot of people assume that they have to build this massive online course, when in reality, you don't. And quite frankly, I think a lot of people nowadays prefer a more short, focused course. It's not about more content, more stuff, a 400-page workbook. No. It's about having a clear goal that this program is going to help somebody achieve, and making it as simple as possible to achieve that goal, giving them just what they need. And the cool thing about mini courses is that you can have a mini course about one specific topic, and then that one course can evolve into a bigger flagship program, or you can just stick with a couple different smaller courses, and that's totally fine. People have built multi-million-dollar businesses on small courses. Like Justin Welsh is a prime example. He sells courses that are $150, and he makes millions of dollars every year. It's insane. He has a very good following though. So yeah, starting with a mini course is great, and trying to keep it simple, because obviously it is very tailored to each individual person. If you can think about something that you address or work on with people all the time, like one specific pain point, that would be a good mini course. Ideally, it's things like an hour, no more than 2 hours. 2 hours might even be pushing it. Just really short and focused course, but it has to be a very specific thing. It's not learn the guitar, master guitar. Whoa, that's a lot. But it would be finger picking 101. You're just going to learn finger picking, or strumming, how to strum better. It's really simple and very focused. And the more you can be like that, if you teach marketing or something, you can have all about building a killer sales page. One aspect, that's it. Or how to write really great emails for your list. Those can obviously evolve. You can have the sales page hey, we just upgraded this, so now you can drive traffic to your sales page. Oh, you're also going to want to send emails to them, and then it turns into a big course, over time. But yeah, it's thinking of what's that one specific thing, get the idea. I'm always a fan of talk to your audience, get in conversations with them, because you can think it's a great idea, but you don't know until you actually talk to your people and really understand what's the thing. A great indicator though is if you keep having sales conversations with people, clients are paying, what do people pay you for? What's that big thing that they like to pay you for? Or one specific outcome that they really are willing to invest in. And that's a great place to kind of get started with coming up with a good product.
Cool. I do mine a little bit differently. I don't mind being on video. So I do a live training every single month. It could be a day, it can be 2 days, it could be a week long, whatever it is. So, and I kind of get a feel for the same thing. Like if I'm having conversations with people and this is what they're saying, well, this is what we're going to do next month. And the best one that I ever did, and I never would have thought, like the one that I thought was going to be great, like flopped. It was terrible. I'm like, wow, this is sad. I did a 7-day productivity and mindset challenge. And within 10 minutes, they were able to like take one productivity thing and one mindset thing that kind of went together for the day. And in under 10 minutes between the training and getting it done is all it took every day. And at the end of that, I had the most people saying that was amazing. That was so great. Thank you so much. So it's 7 days, but that's the one that did the best for me based on whatever was going on. So, and then you have like a basis of, what happens from there too. So, I like, definitely talking to your audience and getting to know. Again, let's circle back to that, guys. Talk to your audience, find out what they want, right? What's the thing? And then just going from there. I think that's really, really helpful. And a lot of entrepreneurs and a lot of people listening probably already know what their audience says, what they want, what to create. It's just getting their head wrapped around like, okay, what's my step to doing this? How do I walk through it? How do I get to that point? And we'll drop all your information below in case anybody wants to reach out to you as well. Because I would have never gotten this podcast off the ground if I didn't outsource the entire thing. All I had to do, I record it and then like, voila, it goes everywhere, right? Like I don't do that. So if it's not your thing and it's stressing you out, but you want to add it in, like definitely outsource it to somebody else, like 100%. If it's going to, your return on investment is going to always be better than the investment that you put in. So I absolutely am 100% on board with that.
Yeah. One thing with building like a digital product that a lot of people think like what I hear all the time is it feels so daunting. That is the thing that I hear. It's daunting. When you keep it a mini course in the beginning, it's less daunting. It's much more simplified. And what I like to do is when I have a course idea, I will actually work with people one-on-one and like they invest in me to help them get the outcome that I know I can get them. And I give them access to the course as I'm building it. So I build it with someone. And the cool thing about a course is that if somebody works with me, I give them courses and they are designed to do the teaching primarily for me. Yes, I need to adjust it specific to the person, but like I will give them a training and say, hey, I want you to go watch this and think about this. Because then they're already familiar with the way I think about things and the methodology, or maybe it's an actual assignment and they do it. Like I just had a client come up that signed up with me like a week ago. And within the first week, we already had her lead magnet like totally built because of the trainings and the resources that I gave her and like using Voxer in between calls. So we hadn't even done our first call. And the first call, we just like plugged it in. It was good to go. Now she could start getting emails. Like, whoa, talk about a quick win, but that is how I can serve better by having courses that already do that teaching and give resources and whatnot for me. So when you're coaching people and they're paying you to learn this outcome, you are the product. But as you're working with them, record them videos that show them more and do the teaching in between your calls. Yes, it's going to be kind of like building the plane as you fly it, but that is a much faster way to build a product that people are willing to pay for, especially if you have like 5 clients that you're teaching the same thing. Because then you're hearing things from them and you're like, oh yeah, everybody's saying the same thing or they have the same exact question. So obviously that needs to be a video in the course. And then you make a video and you can give it to all of them. And yeah, just build your program with them on the fly. I think that's a much more efficient and smart way that I have found to build my own programs. So I just want to throw that in there.
I like that. I coached in a marketer's coaching program as a productivity coach, right? And she had the same thing. Like she had a whole course that they would work through step by step by step, but she also did trainings, and then those trainings were put in so that way if somebody came in and they had a question, it would be like, oh, there's this additional training here, grab it. But the course, it taught them step by step, like this is how you do things, so that way she wasn't repeating it over and over and over again. So yeah, I like that in terms of using that to help your clients get through certain things. It's really good.
Yeah.
Cool. So what would you say is like a jumping point from being exhausted and overwhelmed and working so hard to, I work 20 hours a week. Like, how do people wrap their head around, but I have to grind, I have to hustle, I have to always be working, right? There's sometimes there's that guilt that we hold on to of like, well, if I'm not working, I'm not making money kind of a thing. Like, how do you help people? Because I know you do productivity within your coaching program as well, right? Like, so how do you help them understand, like, it doesn't always have to be hustle. Like, you can actually rest and relax as well.
Yeah. I think the kind of stuff we talked about, like knowing what's the number one thing I need to focus on right now, eliminating other things that are distractions, like that alone really frees up a ton of time. Like, you're probably busy, but you're not being productive. And you're being productive when you're producing a certain result. So if you know exactly what that one thing is, that's the needle mover, that alone is going to free up a lot of time. There's another really great productivity principle that I love. Two of them, really. If you can master these two, then you, I think, could be extremely successful and have a ton of free time. The first one's a Pareto principle, and that's that 80-20. It's a thing we hear all the time. 80% of your results come from 20% of your efforts. So how do you find the 20%? It's through what we talked about earlier. The focusing question is how I like to do it, or whatever it is. But like, figure out your 20%, and then eliminate the other stuff, automate, delegate, that kind of stuff. That will free up a ton of time. The other one is called Parkinson's law. Parkinson's law is a law, it's a principle, just like the Pareto principle, that basically work expands to fill the time you give it. So let's say, for example, that you're in a college class and the professor gives you an assignment and they say, okay, you have 3 months to accomplish this assignment. If you're like me, because I was terrible in school, and you have 3 months, I'm probably going to procrastinate for 3 months until the last 3 days, and then I'm going to knock it out. But if that professor said, okay, here's the assignment, it's due in 3 days, somehow I'm going to get it done in 3 days. It's the same amount of work, same assignment. That is Parkinson's law. So how can we hack it? Basically, give yourself fixed work hours. That was a game changer for me. I have this thing, I know what my 20% is, I got to focus on that. But I give myself work hours. So for me, and we talked about this on my podcast as well, and you had awesome answers. But for me, I work from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. on average. Sometimes it goes over because I got to take care of something or whatever. I'm on a podcast, whatever. But on average, that's it. So at 2 p.m., I'm usually just mentally exhausted, or it's just the end of my day. And I use that as a boundary for myself, basically. And if I only give myself 5 hours in a day or 20 hours a week, I will figure it out in that time, just like the homework assignment from the professor. It's like, give yourself less time to do the thing and you will find ways to get it done in less time. So I always tell people the simplest way, if you want to work fewer hours, just start working fewer hours.
Yeah.
Why? Don't make it more complicated. Just
Yeah.
have work hours where you clock in and you clock off just like you would at a 9 to 5, but in your business. And people are like, oh, it's too rigid or whatever. I want to be aloof. And no, you have freedom and flexibility in your life because you have structure. That's the key. That's what I believe.
Yeah. I wrote about the Parkinson's law in an email a few months ago, and I got so many responses. Light bulbs were going off. They're like, oh my God, you're describing me. And I'm like, it's just the law of the universe. It's how things work. I was the same way in school, by the way. Even at work, if it was deadline is this day, I'm like, all right, I'll work on it the night before. We'll get it taken care of. So I had a mentor once because a lot of people are like, well, I block out, 10 to 2 to do my job. And, sometimes I do this and sometimes I go over, or I write for longer than it's in my time block. My mentor told me, make a rule. You're not allowed to write more than 1 hour. Instead of I stop work at 2, it's like, no, you're only allowed to write, for 30 minutes, or you're only allowed to write 2 pages or whatever it is. Tell yourself differently. I'm literally not allowed to do this after this specific time. And that kind of helps shore things up too. But yeah, Parkinson's law is amazing. It's almost like the law of the vacuum, right? All the shit that you have, if you just get rid of more stuff, it allows better things to come in, right? Every time you look at your closet and you see all the clothes in your closet and you're like, ugh, I don't like any of these clothes. And then you send them off, and all of a sudden 3 months later, you're like, why is my closet full? Well, you made room for more stuff.
So real.
Right? It's the same thing that happens in our lives, in our business, in our world. If you have so much stuff going on, you can't have room for new and better clients because you're dealing with all of the day-to-day shit. So get rid of the day-to-day shit by automating, eliminating, or delegating. And guess what? New and better clients are going to come in.
Yeah. And it's these are really simple things. They're hard to be disciplined with, but Yeah, having work hours was big for me. And like, one other thing with the whole work hour thing in Parkinson's law is that there is always more work to do. There will always and forever be more work to do. There's more clients to serve. There's more things to create. So at the end of the workday, ideally it should be, and we talked a lot about this on my episode with you on my show, but about like energy management too. It's like after 5 hours for me, I'm just tired. My brain's done, and I'm like, I need to just rest. So I can do more work and grind more, but I'm probably have to come back the next day and come fix it and be like, why did I say that? Why did I do that? It was terrible. I was just rushing, or like brain dead. So that's really big. And just for me, like knowing that, and I have to tell myself that sometimes too, like I know there's more work to do. I know I could do more, but like I'm just tired and it's not going to be as good. So I'm going to come back tomorrow when I'm feeling fresh. Just being content with the work that did get done. I think that is really helpful and important.
Awesome. If you could go back to your younger construction self and give him one massive bit of advice, what would you say?
Start sooner.
Yeah.
People thought I was crazy because they thought I was so crazy. Everybody's like, because it's so secure, like the job that I was in, you make great money, like 6 figures or more, depending on what level you're at and stuff. It's a crazy amount of work and it's hard physical labor, but like the benefits were insane. And a lot of people that were in there were just like, there's nothing else that I can do to get this kind of like income or security. Because, they just didn't see themselves as being the smartest, which wasn't true. There's incredibly smart people that I would work with, but they just didn't see themselves as that. That was like my dad. He's like, I couldn't be like a doctor or something. So like, this is the closest thing I can get to being successful. And that's where they find success. So when I said, I'm going to leave and start being a spiritual life coach at 22 years old, they're like, you're freaking crazy, dude. And I did it, but I still procrastinated a lot and I kept waiting, and I should have left like a year earlier and I probably would have figured stuff out even sooner. I just wish that I had, some more balls basically to just be like, this is what I want. And that's kind of what it got down to. It was just like, I know that I've done the construction thing. I know that I want to do something else. Like there's no reason I would ever want to come back to this. So why should I be here? That was kind of the whole idea. Like, why would I stay if I don't want to do this later in my life or come back to it? I know what I want to pursue, so I should go do that. I think one of my favorite quotes ever is by Howard Thurman, who was a mentor to Martin Luther King. And he said, don't do what you think the world needs. Do what makes you come alive. Because what the world needs are more people who've come alive. Yeah.
I like that. Start sooner. That's really good. And a good lesson for a lot of us, because a lot of times we, again, procrastinate on, should I do this? Should I do that? Should I start this? And it's like, yeah, just start it. See how it feels.
If it makes you come alive and the idea gives you, like, that's the whole thing too with coaching. It's like, I've had a lot of coaches whom I deeply respect, and they're like, you should do it this way. Like, this is how it should be done. But inside, I just had like this nagging feeling of inspiration that like, I feel like I should do it this way though. And it's like, it's just like you just not listening to your coach is one thing, but like sometimes if it just naturally feels like electric, this one idea, it's worth pursuing. It's that thing that gives you life. Right now, my business gives me life. I love showing up. I love working with my clients. But if that changed one day and something else gave me life, I'd be like, okay, I'm going to go pursue that, because like at the end of the day, I'm here for a good time, not a long time,
Yeah. And we talked about that yesterday too, when you asked me about my coaching program. And I was like, yeah, I was told to do it this way and I like to do it this way. And you're like, oh, that's different. I'm like,
yeah, with like the pricing and stuff like that.
Right.
It's like,
it just feels good to be flowy for me.
And like, that's what I try and do with my clients. I have a client who teaches people how to sing, and she was told by other people that she had worked with that she has to have this huge, like $5,000 coaching program to teach people how to sing and stuff. And like, I was like, that doesn't sound like your audience. Like, your audience just sounds like hobbyists, And I was like, what would you charge if I worked with you one-on-one? And she gave me her figure. And I was like, okay, well, how about we offer like a single session? And she was like, this feels right to me. Like, if I did a single session, and I was like, well, what if you did like a 5-pack and then a 10-pack and they save a little bit with each one? And she was like, oh yeah, I could totally do that. Literally messages me in like a couple weeks. And she's like, I'm about to have my first $12,000 month.
Aww.
After so much time struggling, because I just encouraged her to like do that thing. But I gave her a little bit of a tweak of like, hey, maybe we can make it a little bit more profitable and try that. but just trying to offer like a few different options, but like go with your gut because you're a lot smarter than you think you are. And I think we underplay that a lot in being entrepreneurs.
Yeah. And we have to do what feels good to us too. Like just because so-and-so made it big doing it this way doesn't mean you're going to make it big doing it that way. Like,
yeah, because that probably felt right to them, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Or they push through it and feel like shit and you just don't know. You just don't
True.
know. There's always that. Okay. One more question. I want to know if you have any other, like a final piece of a golden nugget or advice or anything that you would give to anybody listening.
I don't know. I feel like I gave away a lot of really good ones. You know, I mean, your audience, a lot of people here, like it's an audience of women who are doing six figures or they're like well on their way to doing that. I think like just doing regular checks, maybe every couple months, at least once a year of like, what have I been doing? And just doing like a review of what's worked, what hasn't worked. Like me, you know, you mentioned that you're on all these social media platforms. I'm not. And when I stopped doing that, I had my first six-figure year. I focus on YouTube. I focus on blogging and podcasting because those are things that are just like long form. They work for me. Podcasting, you know, I get opportunities like this where I have an audience with my show. It brings in business, but also like the guests. I just noticed that, wow, I meet these awesome people and then I get invited onto other people's podcasts and then clients find me through that. So that just worked for me. Like I don't post every day on social media. I rarely do. And like inside, I feel like, am I making a huge mistake not posting every day on LinkedIn? Like maybe it's something that I would like to do, but I realized that it just wasn't really like I was doing it. And it just wasn't bringing as much money as me doing YouTube or podcasting or blogging. Those things really worked for me. So I think just like really assessing what actually moves the needle for you and your business and just really being clear about that and thinking about it and being aware. And like, are you doing things that don't like just trying to be on every platform? It's just a lot. It's expensive, you know, and it's exhausting unless you have a really good team, but then you have to hire people and stuff like that. So I think just doing like a regular check of like, do I know what my one thing is right now? Am I eliminating other things that aren't serving that and just one thing at a time? Yes. You know, I think that's like the biggest piece.
Yeah, that's awesome. Track and adjust. So I tell people all the time,
Great.
You have to track and adjust, even in life, like what's happening, what happened and what's happening and adjust and go down the way.
Yeah. I like a 90-day test with things. If you're posting like relentlessly on Instagram and just nothing's happening for 90 days at least, it gives you a good time frame to see if something's working, like going to the gym. If you're not getting any results with the workout routine you're doing in 90 days, then you should probably change it up, you know? Like you'll at least see some results to know, is it worth pursuing? Right. So I like a 90-day test.
Awesome. I think that's perfect. Tell people how they can get in touch with you.
Yeah. So just go to Google and type in Profit Your Knowledge and then search and you will find me. You can check out my YouTube channel, my website. I have a cool blog that I'm getting a lot more serious with. And then my podcast is also there. If you do want to create more scalability with your business, you're like, oh, it'd be really cool to have like a digital product, an online course or something like that. I do have a free training. It's like 30-ish minutes or so. It's under an hour, but that is on my website. If you visit my website, you'll see an opt-in where you can get on my email list and you can watch it. But that's really helpful. So I go over how to build great digital products, how to sell them, and then how to drive traffic to them and keep it all passive. It's how to earn your first $2,000 per month from digital products. So you can get that going to my website, or you can always go to profityourknowledge.com/masterclass.
And we'll drop the links below too. I do want to say I listened to that free training and I sent it to one of my older sons who's really into making music. And he is now monetizing the music clips that he puts on whatever freaking place. Yeah.
That's awesome.
So, just so you know, he's like, you know what? I already put this music out here. How can I make money from it? And he got on the ball and did it. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, it was really cool. Well, thank you so much for being here and validating everything that I say from a different point of view, and teaching people a little bit more about like, it's not just about adding more clients or filling your roster or having a ton of teammates. Like you can make a decent amount of money and work very few hours with digital products and courses to kind of assist your business instead of having things drain on you. So I think that's really cool. And we'll put all of the links down below and hopefully everybody gets in touch with you to see how you can help them out.
Cool. Yeah. Awesome.
Thanks.